right. Stream 1 and 2 is good. Hey, everybody. Matt here. You're probably wondering, hey, what's going on with the learning curve today? Well, we're not really having a learning curve. We don't have Jay here today. And we've learned a lot in the past episodes, and you saw a lot of conflict and resolution where we're yelling at each other, but that's not today. A while back, Jay came into the studio, and his brother Greg came into the studio, and he interviewed him. Wow. And it was just an interview. And we got that pulled up, getting ready to watch that, because I don't know how many people have seen this. If I played it before, I don't remember. But it's a special episode. And it's Greg Cobb, Jay's brother. And they're going to talk about some heavy stuff. And I think they might talk about Jay's addiction and his brother helping him through some of his addiction issues and things like that. It's going to be a pretty heavy video for those of you who are not aware. Just remember that the views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or its affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. Some of this content may be adult in nature, so please use discretion when watching with your kids. So without any further ado, let's take it away, Jay.
Hello, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on the show may not be those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and any of their subordinate or affiliate ministries. And as always, please use discretion when watching with your children, as some of the content may not be suitable.
I already told them that, Jay. Here you go.
Right. Brother Greg.
Yes, Brother
How
Jay.
are you? How are you? It's good to see you.
Yeah.
We don't talk that much, and we don't live that far away. You know, I'm horrible at staying in touch. So it's really great to have a reason to do this.
Yes.
Yeah. And we were talking the other day, one of those rare moments that we talk.
Right.
Rarer than they should be. But you said something to me, and it really sounded like it was so profound. I said, you need to come on the show.
Right.
So we're going to make this video so that people can hear the same thing, and hopefully it is as profound to them as it was to me. Now, what was the statement that you made?
Well, I said that after 54 years, I finally came up with my primary life aim.
Primary life aim.
Yes.
Yes.
So what it is provide an inheritance to my family, basically my wife, my 5 children, and my 8 grandchildren. And to enjoy family at all levels, spending time with and building lifelong memories with little or no limitations in what we do or where we go. Having money for me, family, friends to do stuff, a.k.a. build long life memories. And I want to look good doing it because I'm not looking quite so healthy these days. And I also want to feel good.
I thought you meant dress and shop.
Well, I think that's a little bit of what I mean because I want to look appropriate to whatever we're doing.
Right.
So I want to look good doing whatever we're doing. I want to feel good doing it because right now, like if I had to chase you out the door, I probably would die.
Okay.
So I also want to be in good shape doing it, healthy. And I want my wife, Raina, to be with me and to feel the same way, to feel good, look good, and to be healthy along with me doing it.
Right.
So if I chase her down the beach, she has to also be in shape enough to run.
Right. And so you want to be able to let her get away until that last moment where you catch her.
Exactly. The climax is reached.
Yes. And no dying. Nobody's dying
death.
in this scene, this scenario. And was that the whole thing?
That is. I think a lot of it is wrapped up in a simple phrase that I said, spending time with and building long life memories and enjoying family at all levels. Because enjoying family at all levels, you're one level of my family. You're an upper level in the sense that you're my brother.
Yeah.
And I would say linear, is like cousins, things like that, aunts, uncles, and then direct descendants, which my wife, in a sense...
I didn't think about this, but what you're really saying is you want to take a vacation with me on brand new, decked out Harley Davidsons across the country and around the Grand Canyon, through the mountains, right?
I don't know about me on
with leathers.
I mean, I don't know about me on the motorcycle too. I may be in the car behind you or the van.
Oh, okay, yeah, the van, the parts van,
right.
the gasoline, the gasoline tanker.
Right. There we go.
So that when we go through Kansas,
right.
So I didn't realize I wasn't even thinking about that. I just thought this is a really great statement for myself and articulating what I would like to see life become.
Right.
Okay.
And the vacation is it. I want my life to be a lot more like a vacation, because through so much of it, I've been focused on work. And my secondary, well, I say secondary, it's actually my primary focus is my wife and children directly. And it's a lot of my...
And that shows, I must say.
Well, I'm glad to...
It really does. I admire you for it.
I mean, I didn't do it for that purpose, but I'm glad it does.
You just when those little things popped out, you just had there was an attachment. I mean, it was an umbilical cord, but once that was cut, right, you got kind of attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you just couldn't take your eyes off them. They kind of took your focus and your thoughts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I thought things...
I know that feeling.
I thought things way out in their life. You know, like, for instance, I've never been a drinker.
Right.
So other than,
I have.
Coca-Cola, things like that, I've been addicted to
As
Coca-Cola.
they all well know, the people who will be viewing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad that you've changed your life in that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I never was a drinker, and my wife had issues with people in her family that drank. And so I knew that it would be a piece of cake for me to not be an alcoholic.
Right.
Because I wasn't already. So I just didn't have, my objective was to not become one, which was easy because you just don't drink.
Yeah.
So, and now...
So you never drink alcohol?
No, that's not true.
Oh, okay.
I drink, like, we'll buy wine. We'll drink wine with a supper, or I'll buy, like, whiskey. It's the honey flavored whiskey, or the
I remember
cinnamon.
I was staying at your house. I don't know. I was homeless or something for some reason, and you had a bottle of rum or
something,
or vodka or something, and I drank the whole thing. I didn't even know I was drinking the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think it was the whole thing, but it was
a lot.
A good bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife was
I
uncomfortable.
could have drank the whole thing.
Yeah, my wife got uncomfortable. That's one of the reasons why it was hard having you around sometimes, because with her past and seeing you in that, it was hard for her to...
And you didn't want that for your family.
Correct.
Right. And so you never became an alcoholic. You never got into the alcohol. It always stayed in the right, proper place in your life as it should.
Well, alcohol did, yes.
Yeah.
But I smoked, which was one of the things that I kind of felt like, I could have one bad.
Yeah. Right. Right. And nobody knows. Who knows? Who knows how that's altered the course of it. But now these... So when you say these are your life goal, or what is this again?
It's my primary life aim. So basically, all things are in my life to make that a focus, something I can focus on and be a mainstay in my life. So I want to be able to just say up and go and take you up on that road trip, or fly to Guatemala for a month, spend time with her mother or her sisters and brothers.
Now, that was one thing that I thought was really beautiful about your statement, too, is because you did say that stuff. You actually have done some of the things that you want to do on that.
Right.
And your experience with those things, when you went to Guatemala, now tell me a little bit about that, because if y'all don't know, my sister-in-law is from Guatemala. She's Guatemalan, and she was born and raised there.
Yep.
Right? And she moved here when she was a young woman. 14 years old, so not even a young woman, an adolescent girl. And she lived here ever since then.
Yep.
Yeah. And somehow, you two banged into each other. Where'd you guys meet?
That's actually a very peculiar story. So we both worked at this company. It was called Howard H. Sweet and Sons Manufacturing Incorporated.
I remember going with you to pick her up.
Yep. And
from work.
This lady, I worked what was kind of like a split first, second shift. So the first shift, when they would come in and take over things, a lot of times it would take 10 hours to do something.
Right.
So they would leave after 8, and there'd be 2 hours that they'd have to push it off to the next day. So I came in as a split first, second shift.
Right.
So basically, I would take over their shift and make sure everything got finished up, cleaned up, put away. Well, this lady comes over to me and says, "Hey, you know this girl? She likes you and wants your phone number. Wants you to ask her out on a date. Here's her phone number."
You were a handsome young man.
Well,
you were quite dashing.
Well, I
have
look
the
at
photos.
I look at my photos and I think, I'm definitely better looking than I am now.
Yeah, right. You're gorgeous.
Well, I
You're
appreciate
gorgeous
that.
now. You got hair. Hey, it could be worse.
Kind of going on its own. You know,
Right. But you're doing good. You're doing good.
It's retreating.
Could be worse.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes, I know. Hey,
I mean,
our dad though, he
mine
never
can be
really
seen
went
from
bald.
space.
You mean your head or your
Yeah,
hair?
my head, the reflection.
I thought you were talking about your hair because there's not enough of it up there for this.
Right. You know how when they're looking from space and they see that one little ching, that blink of a shiny object,
Right.
that's me.
That's where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, you've seen it several times.
Yeah. So when she did that, I thought for sure a date.
Yeah, because you liked girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You always had a girlfriend, I think.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
started off with a couple of good interests.
So she asked you out.
No.
Kinda.
No. Nope.
She gave you her number
Nope. Well, she gave the lady her number
to give to you.
because she told her that I liked her and that I was interested in dating her and I wanted her number. So she gave her her number, and then she gave it to me, the other
She
lady.
knew quality when she saw it and said, I'm going to get these two together.
I don't.
Do you still know who she was?
No.
Isn't that great? Like a little angel.
Exactly.
And
Because
so-
she came in and she said, here's a sure date. And I went on the worst date of my life. We went to this new pizza place in town, and, we got the pizza, and we're both nervous.
Were the bread soggy and...
No, there was just pubic hair
Oh, no. Oh, my
in the crust.
Oh, I don't
So I
even wanna
call
know.
over the manager, and I said, is this typical in your... And he's like, yeah, all our crust is like that. And I'm thinking... He's not seeing it yet. So I said, I kind of put my finger almost like right on it. And I said, this is typical in your crust? And he's like, oh, no. But then he still gave me a bill for the drinks. Like, he didn't charge me for the pizza, thankfully, but then he still charged me for the drinks. I'm like, well, this is a little crazy. But anyways, they went out of business. They didn't last real long.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that was
So
a
you went on
crazy
the
story.
worst date of your life, but how did that turn into a second date? Usually that's like, well, you know what? That's very manly of you, though, and very, very cool
What?
for you to call the manager over and say, so, and the way you worded that was very, I don't know, very cool.
Well, I know that if I owned this
See, I look up to you
establishment...
more now.
Well, I knew if I
Hey,
owned the
he's so cool
establishment,
on
I
it.
wouldn't want people to be
Yeah,
saying,
you wouldn't
hey,
want-
everybody. you know.
There's, yeah.
So I
Very
tried to be
cool.
couth.
Yeah. And you said, is it typical of your...
Yeah, something like that.
And then you didn't see... That is so amazing. That's funny. And so the date ended, and where did you go from there? Was that the end of the date? You took her home?
Right. Well, we went to her
Why
house.
was it the worst date of your life? Just because
that particular portion of it.
Because then you're like, well, and then you get another pizza to replace it, and
No.
you're like, oh,
No, we were done.
you were done.
Yeah,
That was it.
because typically
no
you only
way I
get
would
one
either.
hair in a crust
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
But I wasn't taking a chance on two.
Yeah, who's running around there dropping pubic hairs, and how does it get in there?
Right.
Really? You don't want to even know. Who's sitting on the pans without their pants? You know? There's something going on in the back that you just don't want going
Right.
on in the back of a restaurant.
Right.
Well, unless it's you.
Well,
You know, you know the scene in the movies where they're smashing into racks and all the pans are rattling and they're kissing. You know, all the romance movies,
Right,
all
right.
the great romance movies have that scene,
yep.
right? That or some or people with guns running through,
Yeah.
knocking stuff over, flinging stuff in the air. Okay, so that was your first date, very much like a movie, the romance type.
Well, that was the
You
date
should have known
part of
right
it.
there.
So then we went to her house and we hung out. I got to learn who her family is a little bit. The people
Now,
she
how much of
lived
her
with.
family was there when she was, and how old was she at this time?
Well, let's see, she would have been 19 because I was 18 and turned 19 right after we got married, and we only dated for 9 months.
And where are you from? Just for the audience at home, those who may
my
not
mother.
know. Right.
From your mother.
Yeah, from when we have the same
I
mother.
mean, how am I not from her?
Yeah.
I'm from Attleboro, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, what a great place, huh?
Yes.
Great place, and I'll never go back.
Right.
Not to live.
It was a great place to be from, but
Yes.
not to visit.
Not to stay. No.
Unless you
Too
like getting run
crowded for
over.
me. But you, so that's really a great story. I had no idea.
Yeah?
You know, it's interesting doing this now and having had people on that I just was interested in asking questions, and it
Right.
kind of filled up the time. And the time goes by. See, look, we've already used 15 minutes, almost 15
You were
minutes.
thinking maybe 10.
Yeah, we're going to go an hour. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. So just to get through this, you know, because there's a lot here.
Right.
And we could even do another show sometime. We should. But I found people really interesting and wanting to know about them.
Right.
And then they say something, and it just adds 10 more questions to the list of things that I want to know.
Right.
And so I really enjoyed doing it, and I found that this is a great thing. And then when you said what you said about your primary life aim.
Right.
So this is how your first date went. and then how did this turn into a lifelong love affair with children and family and grandchildren?
It's kind of like one of those things you just I never really planned it, but I'm pretty much the one who instigated it. I'm the one who made it happen because I'm the one who asked her to marry me. She said yes, and then
how long had you known her since at that
Well,
point?
we dated in February and we're married that October.
Really?
So yeah, we dated 9 months.
Yeah, that's not bad though.
No, I thought
No,
that
it's-
was like a let's get to know you kind
Yeah,
of a thing.
that was good. Let's get to know you. And you knew her family already. How did that go? Because what this is leading up to your trip to Guatemala, which I thought when you told me how it was and you told me what you'd like for it to be, it seemed like you already kind of achieved that as well.
Well, we did when I had a car accident and I got a settlement from that. So we took a month off and went to Guatemala. And my youngest daughter, Chantel, she was a year old while we were in Guatemala.
Really? So it wasn't really that long ago.
Well, 23 years ago.
Yeah, but
So
I'm
depends
51.
on what clock you're using.
Not even half a lifetime.
Right. Well, almost
Not even
half.
half a lifetime.
No.
Anyway, so you guys went there. She was a baby. You
Yes.
brought all your children. And now, one thing about it is when I hear you talk about your trip to Guatemala, it's so beautiful the way you describe it. But I never noticed about the children. So what was Guatemala like with children? Were they just all running around in herds,
No.
playing and throwing balls and sticks and stuff? With
No,
stones,
they-
mud, dirt?
See, her mother and her siblings, her brothers specifically,
Right.
had to relax for that one. So they kind of felt like they're in a rough neighborhood. So they were very protective. So they didn't let things go far
Yeah.
at all.
Stay
So
inside.
yeah, they were always
If you
close.
can't hear my voice.
Not even that far.
Right.
Yeah, if somebody was always close at hand to us. I felt like I had bodyguards.
Did you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was nice.
Yeah,
That sounds cool.
Her two brothers were always, when I was walking down the street, they were behind me. I'd walk up to a vendor and I'd say, "Hey, I want to buy this chess set. How much is it?" And of course, they're speaking Spanish, so they don't really understand. So one of them would translate for me, and they would say how many quetzal it was. And so I'd say, "Oh, okay, I want to buy it." And they'd like, no. And then they would Jew them down to whatever, they felt was a comfortable price. But I'm thinking, I'm converting, because I have to do a lot of math in my head. I'm thinking, okay, they want 60 quetzal, and then you divide it by 8, and then you figure that, okay, this set's less than $10 US. So I'm thinking, this is a good deal.
Yeah.
And they're like, no. We can get it down to 5. so I
And
always
they
let
spoke English.
them. No.
Your brothers-in-law.
No, I did sign language.
Oh, really? And
Yeah,
they understood sign language.
Tall and big.
Oh.
I just
How much?
gestures.
Right.
And
That
then
is so cool.
when it came down to it, my wife Reina, she spoke fluent English.
Yeah.
She would translate for me, or her cousin Flor was there, and she would also translate.
So you went with this group of people.
Yeah,
I mean, you had a great visit there, huh?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Her stepfather Nino, he would explode in his anger at times. So we're driving. When we got there, he was rebuilding a car, and they rebuild cars different than what we do. We take something that's almost done already, and then just kind of add seat covers, and we built it.
Right.
Well, they had this thing tore down to the ground. I mean, like the hinges were off on the frame that the doors go on.
Right.
So I mean, this thing was completely apart.
Right.
So when he put everything back together,
In the time that you were there, he put it back
he had
together?
already been putting it back together.
Right, okay.
So it wasn't completely put back together, but that was part of what I helped with. And somewhere there was there was water in the gas tank.
Oh.
So he didn't drain that and clean it. So he just put new gas and we went. So here we are all driving up this hill, and it's sputtering, and there's a bus in front of us, and it's laying out a pure black stream. So I acted like I was swimming through this smoke, and he went from being raged because his car was acting up to being laughing, sitting there literally laughing about the situation. So I was glad that I was able to do that, bring humor to people.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like such a beautiful vacation. I wonder if this always hasn't been your primary life aim, but you've, at this point in your life, found a way to articulate it.
Right.
Because do you feel somehow that maybe you haven't really reached it and that you do want it to look a little bit different?
What, the aim?
Yeah, the aim.
I want it to be a little more freedom. in what we do. I say we, me, and my family, people, friends, and I want it to be more sporadic, like not have to have
Spontaneous.
everything lined up.
So when you hear about, you see pictures of Grand Canyon or something, or you see a video of somebody taking a trip somewhere, or scuba diving or something, and you say, hey, you know what, let's go scuba diving, and then within a week you're on a plane,
Right.
landing in the islands,
Right.
and you're out on the reef.
Yep.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about it. Like, you don't have to say, oh, well, I wonder what it costs to get a guide. I
Right.
wonder what it costs
Right.
to rent a boat. I wonder what it costs to get the gear to go on. You just say, okay, let's do it.
Right.
See, and that would be really wonderful.
Well, that requires
Even to me, that
money.
sounds like a dream come true, because I've not really ever had a vacation in my life. I
Yep.
broke my back when I was young, so I never really had a vacation except for my honeymoon. I think probably that's it. Oh, except for I had 2 honeymoons in my life, and those are the 2 vacations I've had in my life.
Didn't you ever go to Massachusetts on a bit of a excursion?
For my honeymoons.
That was it?
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't been to Massachusetts except for after you got married?
I haven't been to Massachusetts since I went with my second wife.
Wow.
Or before.
I don't know when it was last I've been back, but it's been a while since I've been back there too.
But it wasn't very... So I got married pretty quickly after I got here
Okay.
to my first wife, the mother of my children.
Right.
And so, if I go back far, it seemed like, well, I was born and raised in Massachusetts, so yeah, I've
Right.
been there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so when you're talking about my marriages, I was married for 10 years to my first wife, and we never really had a...
Was it only 10 years?
It was...
I would have guessed
It
longer.
was almost exactly 10 years.
I would have guessed longer.
Yeah. It felt like it.
Well, I think for you possibly in a different manner, but we always liked you guys.
Yeah,
Like you-
everybody did. Everybody did, I'm a little bit insufferable, and I'm not a very good socializer, We can have a great conversation because I have plenty of questions about everything. But then after a while, it kind of wears you out because it's a lot of questions and a lot of thinking. Like, this conversation moving on pretty quick, and there's a lot of stuff involved, and there's a lot more we can do to add to it. But
Well, maybe because I grew up in the same house as you, that unsufferable is easier to suffer.
yeah, so she also was very... she was a social butterfly. Just a beautiful, wonderful, joyful, fun young woman.
Right.
Who everywhere she went, everybody was happy to see her.
And that's how we saw
if they
her.
didn't even know her, they would be happy to see her. She was
Right.
a joy to be around. Really, she was. And our relationship really changed her. That's one of the things from my past.
My relationship with my wife changed her too.
Oh, well, of course it does. Yeah. But for the worst, and it ended. So yours is a little bit different story.
Well, the first 4 years, I think at the end of that 4-year span, we were like both wanting to kill each other or hope the other would walk away. But
Now, are you not sure how you're going to achieve this? Is it still kind of a mystery to you how to get there? But you're determined to get there, just not really sure the steps to get there.
well, the easiest thing that there is now is that I have an idea. It's like I got the map. Now I have to map it out.
You got the X on the map. You got
Okay.
the map and the X.
Right. So now all I was going to do is plan the in-between.
Now the mountain ranges, you got to figure out how to
Get over them.
scale the cliffs and
Right.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
my idea is, of course, a business.
yeah.
I've heard things they call 7 streams of income is what a good rich person does.
Now, I had recently had a job where there was a 401k, and I was
Right.
putting in it for 2.5 years. Now, I didn't know. Nobody talked to me about it and said, hey, you can invest it in certain different percentages where some
Right.
of it's in a low risk, no loss, and some of it's in a...
High risk, high gain.
Yeah, and there's somewhere in between you can do too. You can divide it up into percentages into the different risk groups.
Yep.
And you can gain a lot more that way. And in the markets over 2.5 years, especially the last 2.5 years, you would have gained.
Right.
Over the last, I suppose, 9 years, you would have gained.
Right.
10 years. Because that's all it's done. And
Unless
it's
you
had its
cashed out
falls.
just last year.
The thing about it is the market rising and falling and the volatility of the market is where those things gain the most money.
Right.
because those are and they manipulate the markets in that way. So I had this money in this 401k, got the lowest possible interest. I would have made the same amount if I just had it in a savings account.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I find out after I leave my job when I'm thinking about taking the money out is that it's basically what I put in there.
Oh, wow.
I'm very upset now,
Right.
And here's this opportunity all this time that it could have been more, much more.
Right.
Would have been much more.
Right.
Even despite the losses.
Mm-hmm.
Even recently, the market's lost, I don't know, 40% in the last week, 2
Really?
weeks. Yeah.
I haven't heard about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just recently started gaining Friday again.
Oh, wow.
But it's still at the lowest. It's, it dropped 40%.
Have you noticed
2
gas
weeks.
prices? They're up 40 cents.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I could have done something there. Now, I would recommend getting into a 401k and putting the maximum that they'll match, and then get in there and diversify a little bit into your risks, like
Right.
say 25% in the low or no risk, and then so on, and do it and divide it into percentages along the way of risk.
The information that I was given back when I got into my first one was, depending on your age, depends on how high and how much of it should go into the riskier categories. So when
Yeah,
you're getting,
I just
20,
would say
30
do that on your own. Decide what it is that it will take
Right.
for you to retire, and then do according to that,
Right.
And they have advisors, so you would call the investment firm,
Mm-hmm.
and say, what are people my age and my income with only the money that I have in this thing
Right.
to show, what's it going to take for me to retire well?
Right.
To when I get to be 65, can I leave my job, pay off my debts, and go on vacation for the rest of my life?
Right.
What is that going to take? And they can tell you.
Yeah.
They can tell you what it'll take to get there. Yep. Because they know the market's history. They're the ones who have the most control in the market because they invest in companies that are soaring and then they drop out. And usually when a company falls and reaches the volatile point is because they bailed out on it. They set a marker for what it'll gain before they bail out, and then they take everybody's money that they put into it, which is what got it there,
Right.
and then they sell it all.
It sounds like
And then all the other people investing just because they're watching it go up and say, oh, that's going up, I'm going to put in it. Then
Right.
they you know what I mean?
Yep.
So they're the people that make it what it is, and they're the ones who make the money for you.
Yeah.
So, it's a good idea to go in with them and,
Right.
and to talk to them and get their advice because they know
Bernie
what they're doing.
Sanders, yeah, he's the type of guy who, when he goes in on a stock, it goes up, and when he pulls out, it goes down.
Yeah. And so people see these markets sharply going up, going up, going up, and they look over the day, week, month, year, and they see this steady line just curving just almost straight up and down.
Right.
And they're like, I'm getting into that because it's going somewhere. It's only been open for 3 years. And, so they go in, and that's what's boosting the value of people like Bernie's investment.
Right.
Or the IPOs or whatever they are, people who invest for other people. But that's a good way to get there.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Right.
And then saving,
Yeah.
having the money for the emergencies, finding out what your emergencies usually cost you, how frequently they occur, and being prepared for that. Having that money set.
Flat tire money.
One of the ways I do it is I pay my bills when I get them instead of when they're due. So I'm
Right.
typically 3 weeks ahead on all my bills.
Okay.
Right? So I just quit my job a week ago. I've been off for a week, so now I have 2.
So now you can let that roll out a little longer.
In 2 weeks, I'm going to need to get a paycheck.
Right.
And maybe a little longer than that. But not much.
Right.
I'm tight. I got to get a job. So, but that's one way to get ahead, and that's more than $500 worth of savings, even though you don't actually have the cash on you. You
Right.
don't have to pay that bill today because it's not due.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can shift those back in your budget as long as you pay attention.
Right.
That's one way that I do it. Now, I can do even better because I'm not really invested properly in a way, and it doesn't take much.
Nope.
It doesn't take much. 3% of my pay was going into my 401k.
I'm doing
which
10.
Which you don't even notice.
Right.
10 is a lot.
I mean, it is.
Do they match?
They match not up to 10. They match up to 3 or 3.5.
Now, I've only been there 3.5 years. I'm at 80%. So whatever they put in, they get 20% back. So whatever they matched on me, they get 20% of that back when I cash out.
Right.
Because I haven't been fully invested, is what they say.
Well, if you
5
didn't
years.
know, you can leave it in. You don't have to cash it out.
You can't
If
leave it in the
knew.
401k. because that's a company related 401k is one that you can only have money in if you're an employee. So once you're not an employee, you have 30 days.
Really?
30 or
To roll it over or cash
to
it
roll
out?
it over into something else, yeah. And then some companies, you have to have $5,000 in order to keep the money there. So if you roll it out, you have to put it into something else that's
So I
not
worked
in
for
that
MFA,
company. Mm-hmm.
and I had a 401k there. That was the first place I ever had a 401k.
Yeah.
And when I left there, I just left the money there too.
And it's still there?
No, years later I cashed it out. But I mean, it was
it
quite a
worthwhile?
while. Well,
It was the low risk. It was just what they automatically put it in.
no. It was okay. It just I wasn't with them anymore. There was nothing going into it, so I just
Oh, yeah.
and I probably needed the money, which is typical of my life. You always need the money.
Yeah, but we need to break out of that. You and I both.
Absolutely.
And I like that. I liked what you said because that's what I would like for my life to be like. To enjoy those things. And it does take a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way to escape that. But good planning is what can make the difference.
Well, what I'm looking to do to help myself get out of this or to create income is to do something like what we're doing now. But there's a book, it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and we talked about this a little bit. So I wanted to get a group together of people that we can go over the book together, learn together, and grow financially together. We can work on, like, for instance, I don't have any money to invest in something, or it's $50 a week.
Right. You got $1 on you?
I don't.
There's
Cash-wise.
apps where you can just buy stock by the dollar.
Yeah.
It's a partial share.
Right. So what I'm thinking about is getting a group of people together to go through this book and study it chapter by chapter. And I'm hoping that I can develop a group of men at the end of it that we can bounce ideas off of and be accountable to. Because I think that's part of it. If they say it's easier to do working out if you have somebody to work out with.
Yeah, because two heads are better than one. It's the old saying.
It's accountability too. But two heads are better than one. And when you get into, like, the way Napoleon Hill described it is when you have two people.
So it's not all talk because you come back the next week and nothing has happened. They are like, hey, so what happened? How come you didn't do it?
Right. It's not all talk. There is action. You have to have the action part of anything. Otherwise, it all is just a lot of hot air.
Yeah, well, we experienced that with this. I mean, for many years, Matt and I, just because we had a studio at home already, the equipment was already bought. Now it's been donated to Axe, but at first it was ours. It was our band's equipment.
Right.
We had the studio already in our
Garage.
in the house.
In the houses, yeah.
Yeah, and you remember it there.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah,
One.
and
I
so we
did
were
a
doing the show for
show with you
Axe
once.
from there for years, kicking it around the house. You know? And we just stuck with it. We were committed to it. It's a great way to fellowship with people that you like, and a great way to learn and grow together.
Meet people.
Great way to be accountable to each other because you're on that steady, definitely going to be there thing. We just were committed to it.
Right.
So it moved out of there into Axe offices, and we just continue to do it. We had no expectation of living. The investment was quite a bit financially, and the time was a real commitment because you couldn't not be there. Otherwise, it's not a thing.
Right.
Right. So we did that, and it didn't grow. Our audiences steadily grew 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 to 35 after 4 years or 5 years.
Right.
35, basically a regular viewing audience, which isn't bad.
Right.
When you consider what we're doing, we're talking about spiritual things. We're talking about our lives. We're joking around with each other. We're just actually having a relationship, a friendship,
Right.
openly for everybody to see.
So how much time have we done?
We done 33 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, 4:30 is when we started. Are you done?
Nope.
You ready to go?
Nope. I was
Because
just-
30 minutes is enough.
I was just curious because we talked about different times
Yeah,
to
and-
run this, and so I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean we can wrap it up if you'd like, but we can just keep having a conversation until well, actually, so our shows are actually 40 minutes.
Okay.
So 7 more minutes. 7 more minutes is be a full
Typical.
show
Okay.
with our typical switch over time where we can get people in and move people out and
Right.
sanitize and do all the stuff we do. So I forgot where I was.
Well, we were talking about investments.
Yeah.
And 401ks.
Right. So we just kept doing it with no gain. I mean, there was no, and I'm not talking about financial gain, but it didn't really grow. It didn't feel like it was growing in the way that, but 5 years investment of time, money that makes it possible to do with all the hardware and software that you need to do it, the computers, all that stuff is a lot.
Free.
Yeah, but we did it on our own, and we had no expectation of a return because we really loved what we were doing. We were having a relationship with each other. We are friends. We're cousins. The people that were joining us were involved. They let us know they were there. So there was a reason to interact, not just with each other, but also with the camera that was watching us. And it grew to 35 after 4 or 5 years.
Right.
Well, then all of a sudden people are interested in coming on. Joining, doing stuff, putting their own show on, right? Well, now, because we've been in this place where everybody can find us online and on Facebook and on YouTube for all this time, now we're airing other people's stuff on the same location. So when people see Axe Media Group show up with a new video, even if it's not us, they're like, hey, you know what I mean? They see it. Because they're already watching our show, so they see the notifications when we post a video. So they get to see these other shows too. So now those people's shows are getting views, and now we're up to 65. Like in a year, we gained the same amount we did in 5. Wow. Now we're over 100, sometimes 200, 300. But we didn't expect that, and that's still a low number. But that's pretty organic. Quick growth, and more people and more shows are coming to do their stuff. We're in this office, so it all of a sudden exploded. And that's one of the things you have to do, I think, when it comes to business, is you have to realize that you're really investing a lot. You should be doing something that you love rather than just something you think will be profitable. But something that you love, that the product of it is something people are going to want.
See, I'm thinking a little ahead of things. Because, and I'm probably 100% wrong in this, but I'm like, what if I start off as the boss?
Right.
So my objective is to start a company and not be an employee.
Yeah.
And not be the boss. So there's a little bit more
What about doing it here for us?
What does that mean?
Once a week, the same schedule every week.
Doing what for you?
Come here and have that thing you want to start.
Oh.
Do it here.
I would love to.
I don't know that you can name the book and actually work through the book technically that way. Because of copyright reasons.
Well, this is all. I don't know if it still is, but
and we do have 3.5 minutes.
It was.
What? Tell us what your idea was.
It's free sourced. So the audio is a free source. The written is a free source. The PDF is a free source.
So
the workbook has a free source. So it's all free sourced. So, but I still have to consult with a lawyer because, of course, somebody at some point is gonna come around.
I think you could probably just send them a message and ask.
Right, and so that's what I was thinking of doing. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to do it in 3, the book is 15 chapters, so I want to break it up into 15 sessions. And each session could be up to 4 hours long. So the first part of the session would be to go over the audio. So we would listen to the first part, the first chapter, and then we would go into the workbook, which each chapter has its own little things, even if it's just something that you write down what your goals are in life. And then what I want to do is I want to move into the third part of it, which is where we have an open round table.
Right.
So just like you and I sitting here discussing something, we would discuss the chapter.
Yeah.
And then do that every week.
Pitching the ideas that you have and what you're going to do to achieve a goal and the business you want to work in.
Well, I think that's a little bit more to the end and what happens out of that. So the first 15, I want each conversation to be more tuned to the chapter.
Right.
So the round table would be about the discussion of, and whatever the chapter takes you, wherever that, takes you as far as.
Which is great for what we do. And we'd love to see you come and do that for us. If you can actually put it together and maybe do a little bit of research and get some people to join, maybe I would join. If you'd do it for us, I probably would. But in the minute and a half that we have left, I'm just saying, if you would do that for us, that would be great, because I think people would be interested in coming on board, maybe doing what you're talking about, going over the book, the audio book, and it would be a great thing for us to have as a resource for the people that come to our,
Well, my hope is that in doing
network.
The course, it would help us be accountable to each other and help us actually go through the economic book. because the book is about becoming rich.
Right.
And rich is very elusive.
I think rich is what you said. What was your statement again? Why don't we close with that again? Because we're out. We're out of time. We've got about 1 minute left. But if you could read that statement for again, and that sounds like wealthy to me.
And I think that is as well. Provide an inheritance to my family, my wife, my 5 children, and my 8 grandchildren, and to enjoy family at all levels, spending time with and building lifelong memories, with little or no limitations in what we do or where we go, having money for me, family, and friends to do stuff, aka build long life memories. I want to look good doing it, I want to feel good doing it, and I want to be in good shape doing it. And I want to be healthy. That's basically what that means. And I want my wife with me and to feel the same way, to feel like she looks good, like she is healthy, and those.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's fantastic. Really, that is the lifelong dream. And, well, we're glad that you joined us today. We hope you got a lot out of it. This is my brother who I dearly love and cherish. I love you. I cherish you. You are like gold to me. You are my treasure.
I appreciate
and
that.
I want you all to know that, Greg, I really think that you have nailed down, as we're saying at church with our new series, you've nailed down a good portion of that. And there's the part of the comfort and the wealth, the spontaneity, being able to afford that without hesitation.
Right.
You know, there's a few things you need to work on that, but you really nailed down some of it, and I admire you for that. And thanks for coming in and doing this with me today. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
I love you.
Love you too.
And we love you too.
Yes.
You guys everybody have a good evening.
Thanks.